This is Modern Gaming Culture. This series will attempt to highlight the phenomenon of PC, console, and mobile gaming and bring to light all of its phenomenal aspects. Let's take a dive together into the world of modern gaming and take apart its structure. Now, here's your host, Rotimi Osagi. All right, this is Modern Gaming Culture. The first episode of Modern Gaming Culture. Thank you for tuning in. This is Modern Gamer Culture. This is an internet radio series about gaming culture and its relationship to what's taking place in our world today. I'm your host, Rotimi Osagi, and first off, I want to qualify a lot of uh, I have to qualify a lot of things before I start because you know I consider the time we're living in to be an internet dark age, and so you know generally if you surf the internet, right, um, you'll find regarding a certain topic, right, or just a certain type of content, right. Generally, what you'll find is you'll find pretty much like 5 million of the same video, right? And so, um, you know, um, when you're coming up with something new, put on the internet, right? Or you're just putting something on the internet, you know, you have to sort of qualify what you're putting on the internet, okay? Um, so I'm just gonna do that, because that's just not something that's being done these days, right? Hence, internet dark age. All right, so there's an internet radio show, right? So already I've already lost pretty much 99% of the audience, right? And so you know really want to clarify what internet radio show entails. All right. So internet radio is a profession, if you will, that has existed pretty much since the internet has existed, right? I mean, since the internet has really formed into a large public forum, right? And so, you know, um, and again, right there, I just got to stop because, again, right, this show is gonna have audio. It's gonna have an audio component. It's also gonna have a video component, and so, you know, you turn on something on the internet, right? And unless it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, right, you hear a black guy, saying things that are actually comprehensible, and immediately you're suspect. So um, I just have to qualify that too, and I'm not going to give that any more time. But anyways, you know, since the internet has existed as a public forum, right, and so back to the topic of internet radio, right? Internet radio, has seen a lot of um, iterations, right? And you know, it was really popping off as a profession, you know, in like the mid 2010s, right? And once a lot of money changed hands, we saw this wave of censorship that attacked a lot of these platforms that people were using to host their content, and people were pretty much unequipped to deal with this, and so you know the different types of content related to the field of internet radio, right, sort of got um, annihilated, quite frankly, right? And now if you're going on the internet and you're looking for a radio show, right, type production, right, podcasts, you know, whether it be like a montage of sorts, or a deep, like a rundown, whatever, right? Um, you're gonna find it's very specific, genres that will be hosting this type of content, right? So in the aggregate, right? So that's not accidental, right? Largely there was a terrorist attack that attacked the realm of free speech so devastating um, during the mid 2010s, right? I mean, there's never been a terrorist attack on free speech so devastating in human history, right? Um, Never been before seen like that in human history. And it was basically just a blip on the radar when it came to um, the field of internet radio, right? Unless you were following a lot of these people who really got attacked by this censorship, right? You pretty much don't even know what I'm talking about, right? And so, um, you know, um, it's something where it was going into a realm of independent production, right? And people were getting very successful at it. And then the censorship wave came and washed that all away, right? So we have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to reviving internet radio in a lot more forms than just pretty much um, you know just a talking just a forum for mainstream news, right? Or essentially just like a cult of personality, right? Which is essentially the spectrum of you know um, internet radio you're gonna get these days, right? If you're really someone who's really into internet radio like I am, right? And so, um, you know, that is something that is going to really be a big part of the first few episodes of the shows, is really emphasizing basically, the fact that, um, you know, it's ironic. It's almost like a forced censorship, right? Taking down, you know, different types of content that can be hosted in an internet radio format, right? So, this is also a show about gaming culture, hence the title, Modern Gaming Culture, right? Gaming culture is a term that is absolutely sanitized from public consciousness, right? Um, you know, we talk about gaming, and it's just there, right? That's it. We don't understand gaming relationship to society. You know, we're so concerned about so many other things, right? We don't even really contemplate gaming's importance, right, in earnest, right? So, you know, gaming culture gets reduced to a vapid, you know, dismissive um, discussion, right? And so, you know, um, we got some big shoes to fill here at modern game culture, right? Um, so let's start out very lighthearted, right? These topics are going to get very heavy. I'm going to be very frank with you. Um, these first few episodes, right, as this first iteration of modern game culture is going to be very palatable, right, and very easy to listen to. But if you're not preparing yourself for later episodes, then you're going to find the show is going to get increasingly harder to listen to. So yeah, um, so I want to talk about sort of some stuff that I really need to air out, right? I think the first thing is that this show doesn't represent you know sort of me pointing the camera at myself and um, saying whatever's on my mind, right? This show represents months and months of preparation just for this show alone, right? There's this whole dynamic that's very common these days with the emergence of the internet, um, of overnight celebrities, right? And now you have the internet over a celebrity, right? And you know these dangerous ideas get really injected into society, and they're basically just backed by resources, right? And so um, it's daunting to face up against that type of damage, but uh, there's shoes to fill, right? Um, so yeah, this show is not just something that I just thought up and I was just like, hey, let me try this out, right? It's something I've been preparing for months, and so I want to make that very clear, right? Another thing is that you know, um, I don't know. I really haven't, got to know the audience which I'm talking to, so I don't really want to air out any dirty laundry, um, just for the sake of airing it out. So, um, I really want to make that point mainly that this show does not just represent, you know, basically just some curiosity, and so that's something I just want to make very clear, right? Um, the scenery may not speak for that. I got my but this is a makeshift shelf. It's a bookshelf, but I've basically turned it into a makeshift shelf. Um, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff on it, but um, you know, I got like some binders back here. Right? Some of this stuff may get blocked, right? I got some binders here. If you're familiar with hobby shops, you can you know uh, get you know trading cards. This one's stuck a little. You get like trading cards, right? And these binders are full of trading cards, right? So, uh, it's not a binder. You know, these deck boxes, right? Old decks, right? Some Nintendo Switch games, Um, so I ain't got like, again, I don't really want to make any comparisons. I just want to say what I want to say. But you know, it's not, again, right. I think these first few episodes is going to be really a test of faith, as well as very um fun and easy to listen to um series, right? Um, and so I don't really need to you know pull out the big guns yet, but I don't want to sort of set people up for stuff, right? That they're not going to get from this show, right? I have a very big responsibility with this show, particularly with how little this message is going to be echoed, right? With these first few episodes of the first iteration of the show, right? And so I don't really have time to play around or jerking off or just get going on tangents or getting distracted. Um, really have to really make sure people know what they're getting into. Listen to this so that I don't get a lot of ways, and I know there are going to be people that are going to come up with the most crazy, insane stuff to discredit my work, right? And so I just need to make sure I'm very straightforward with you know um, what I'm trying to do here, right? And so that there's no mistaking. And so when people go and they see people trying to discredit my work, they know if they have two brain cells to run together, that stuff is absolutely false, right? Um, you know, this is something that's going to be very difficult to do, right? Um, even in the earlier episodes, right? I'm gonna have to hold back a whole lot because um, for the people that I'm really trying to reach, right, out of people that are gonna be listening for whatever the fuck reason they're trying to listen to this for, right? There has to be something palatable for them to take away. All right. So we're gonna be talking about gaming culture and what it has to do with the world today, right? You know, largely what you find if you're looking into gaming, right, in the modern days, you're gonna go on, you know, you might be gonna hear about a game, right, where you're gonna see a gameplay, right, and you're gonna go look for a title, and you're gonna put it into a search engine. It's gonna give you back a result, and then usually these titles they have you know um, home pages, right, official websites that you can visit. Then you'll go there, read all about it, and you'll if you're interested, you'll sign up, and then you'll try to play, right? So um, that's pretty much people's speed with gaming these days. Then from there, it just becomes part of their life, and then they don't really even think about it. They just do it when they want to do it, and then um, they they forget about it, right? And to each their own, right? If you really understand the damage that's really been done through the realm of gaming, um, you know, you would think twice about thinking about gaming like that. You would arm yourself to the teeth when it comes to your skill set related to gaming, and you would take up arms in the digital realm, digital arena, so to speak, and you know shoot back at the enemy, right? Because if you understand how dangerous some of these people claim to be part of gaming culture are, in terms of the ideas they espouse, you wouldn't just sit back and take gaming culture as a place to just relax, take a load off. Okay, so with that out of the way, I think I just want to close the formal part of this show, right? Um, so that's usually how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to, declare that the show, in terms of its formal part, is concluded, and I'm going to go into concluding thoughts, debriefing, etc., and um, sort of help the audience sort of digest what they just took in, right? So I didn't really deliver anything there. All I did was really just set the pace. And so you know um, I'm not your enemy. Okay. um, I know my skin makes it look like I'm the enemy these days. um, how I sound, how I look, right, how I act, I'm pretty much like if not right at the top of the rungs of the ladder, maybe a couple rungs down before the top of Public Enemies, and we'll talk about that on this show. But I'm not your enemy, okay? Um, so uh, I like you, you know. I enjoy hearing what you have to say, right? I enjoy hearing what you think about my work, and you're welcome to you know listen and give feedback, right? It's not something I'm looking for per se, but you know, if you're a aspiring student of my work, you want to share your thoughts with me, I'm willing to listen, right? I'm willing to give feedback as well. Okay. Um, this is a student teacher relationship, and immediately, that's going to conjure up a bunch of images of teachers that you had in public school, and you know we're going to do some work to clear up a lot of those images. Let's just say there's a teacher-student relationship, and so you know, if you need clarification, I can give that. If you want to ask questions, I can answer them. Right? You know, um, but if you think you're just gonna joke around, fool off, you know, jerk off, blabber, chatter, and I'm going to entertain that, you have another thought coming. So I think I'm going to leave it there. This episode of Modern Gamer Culture. Thank you for listening, and this has been Modern Gamer Culture. See ya.